The clinical notes are the central source of information for dementia residents and dementia units. So family are entitled to get a full set of these clinical notes as long as they have the power of attorney's permission. So make sure to get that. Now, it's important to read up research and be well informed with these clinical notes. There's a lot of material in them, all about the medications, the medication rounds, the medicalisation, the diagnoses, the routines, the line of command, who's in charge of what, etc. Now, if you've come to grips with this, you understand this, you've learnt it thoroughly, you're then in a very strong position to be able to ask well-informed questions and get well-informed answers. Otherwise, it can be platitudes, such as, oh, your mother's just a little bit unsettled, but with what, how, when, why? If you haven't got the background to know how to ask the question to the doctor or the charge nurse, you're in a poor position. Whereas if you've read up the notes, you're up to date, you're upskilled, you know the terminology, you can speak their language, and they realise that you can, they realise you've read the notes, the doctor knows that you're clear on medical terminology and medications and side effects, he'll speak to you like a quasi-colleague, and you'll get some really good, valuable information that way. And it makes it interesting, and it's the power balance is more equal. It's not an mismatched power balance, but a more equal arrangement, so that then you're in a stronger position then to be able to give suggestions and ask questions about side effects on medications, which is often, the big problem in dementia units. Now, even if your parent, say, is quite well, quite healthy, and of course they've got a memory problem, but they're walking well, they're fit, they're strong, not on hardly any medication, maybe no medication. So you're querying as to whether it's worth going to the effort to get the clinical notes and read up. Yes, it is worth it, because anything can change at any time in a dementia unit with the dementia resident, cognitively, behaviourally, physically, on any level. So, and often it's a quick change. So if you're upskilled, you've read the notes, you know what's going on, then you can quickly come to the party, call a doctor's meeting, which you've got every authority to do, and partake in the process of how best to help your parent or your relative. Whereas if you haven't read up the notes, you won't have the time. There's no way you'll have the time to upskill on the clinical notes. It can take a good, 2 weeks. I mean, it's 50 pages often. If you've got, excuse me, the initial assessment is always 20 pages or so. That's very thorough. Then you've got all the doctor's notes. Then you've got the carers who fill in notes daily. Then you've got the activity coordinators assessment, that's 4 or 5 pages, and on it goes. So it's a thick wad of material. And as you read it, of course, you've got to understand, well, who is the person that's writing these notes? What do they do? How are they involved? How can I query them if I need to, etc. So you're really understanding the whole dynamic of not just your parents' care, but the way that the dementia unit operates, which is a great help, because the more that you know of what's going on, the better off the position you'll be. Otherwise, what can happen is if you just leave it in good trust and full faith with the medical establishment, I mean, fine, everyone's doing their best job. Some people, of course, are better than others at whatever task they do. But the thing is that things can get waylaid, things can get missed, attention's not paid, there's too much to do, we didn't notice that, etc. Whereas if you're on the case, then you can, it's not that you're making everyone accountable, it's just that you're part of the team. You can be a positive part of the team, you know what's going on, you can contribute to the best care. Otherwise, what happens is that relatives, they become passive and they don't get the notes, they just rely on what the nurse is saying, which is generally just platitudes like, oh, well, your mother's fine if she's good, or your mother's unsettled if she's not, without any detail. And if they haven't got the background to know what detail to ask, they'll just say, oh, well, mum's unsettled, fine. And when the nurse says, well, she's a little unsettled, so she needs some medication to settle her down, if you're not well informed, your chances are just say, okay, not knowing what the medication is, what side effects it has, what dosages, etc. Whereas if you're upskilled, you can talk to both the nurse and the doctor about it. And you can take the clinical notes with you to the unit. And if you're not clear on something, highlight it and ask the charge nurse at the desk what it's about, and write notes on the page and get it all upskilled. So when you go to the doctor's meeting, you've got everything in order. There really is actually a lot of information to absorb. Even if the person's well and there's not a particular problem, let alone if there is. It's a huge amount of material that you have to absorb. If there's a behavioural incident, if there's aggression, if there's, an incident, when, why, how many times, what medication, what side effects, can they stay, are they managing, what effect on staff, what effect on residents, who's been injured, etc. On it goes, like it's a court case of information half the time. And unless you're really tuned in on this, it's very difficult to keep up with it. But if from the beginning you've taken an interest and you've got this wonderful set of clinical notes, full set, which hopefully your power of attorney sister, if she's the power of attorney, has given you access to, then all will be well, and you'll be able to be informed and get informed answers when you need it about your parent or relative's care. So I've written about these topics at length in both these books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. Companion books, good to take into the unit in your handbag, good size. You can start off with this book, because this Resident's Voice is about a person going into the dementia unit and all you need to know to help. Resident's Rise is about once a person is established in a dementia unit and all you need to know to help there in the long term. So all camps are covered, all bases are covered. Good reading, positive reading even. Yes, it's a good read, it's a nice read, it's clear, well laid out. Both books are on Amazon and my website, description below. So thank you for your subscriptions and TikTok. Marvelous subscriptions and viewing is just going way up. So thank you so much for that. And YouTube as well, a little slower, but still slowly but surely. And for those of you that are looking, please subscribe to enable this little platform to get up and running. Thank you for your support, comments and likes and viewing. Thank you.